Welcome to our From the Root podcast. This is Caesar. I'm one of your hosts. And we got
Maddie numbers here.
Yeah. Okay.
Phantogram Maddie.
All right. Well, we're mostly going to be talking about the mystery religions and how a lot of these people in power secretly worship this, but they do it subliminally, and how everything really is, in a way, completely connected and intertwined.
And it's all heading us towards a new world order that cannot be stopped. We're just steamrolling to a one world government with a one world currency, one world religion, one world diversity, one world language. Is it good? Is it bad? It sounds
it's
great
interesting
on paper.
It's pretty interesting with the presidential candidates, how both of them are quite obviously pro-Zionist, pro-Israel.
Yeah, if you can't see that there's an ongoing genocide with the Zionist state of Israel, then you're clearly blind and you need to get your head out of your ass.
Well, let's just talk about, I just want to bring up, how I think I was talking to Caesar about it a while ago, was that how it's essentially the anti-Jew sentiment has been locked into the Hitler Third Reich regime and everything like that. But then now you actually have the most progressive in our society actually taking the same political perspective, where it's just these guys are taking over everything. They're kind of horrible and they're causing mass extermination. They're waging wars and so forth. How the liberals have become anti-Jewish, basically.
Well, it's really interesting considering the fact that a lot of the major universities in the Ivy League are actually a bunch of liberal Jews. But then that's what's interesting about it, is how both sides are really, both sides are completely infiltrated in regards to media. But for example, I was watching an interview with Nick Fuentes and Jake Fields, and Nick Fuentes actually, who I'm not really a fan, because a lot of these people are grifters, just to start off, is just how this is all really, rebranding and infiltration, with where now in the time of the corporate media falling, lost a lot of its credibility and legitimacy. And then this alternative media that's really on the internet, that it seems like a lot of these people that seem genuine and they're exposing things, but there's a lot of contradictions that are just too...
Their entire business model fits the complete stereotype of Jews and their usury form of payments, how they bitch and whine, how they can't use their credit cards through certain formats.
When they kicked off of certain platforms.
Yeah.
Well, no, okay. Pretty much my overall point was that a lot of these people that are alternative media personalities, Patrick Bet-David, Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens, the Tates, it's interesting how they expose Zionism. They accidentally criticize Zionism, but it's just how are we supposed to take it seriously in regards to this is all completely connected with the Vatican and the Zionist Jews at the top of the power structure. And so it's just or if you're a claim to be against the Matrix, and then
it's they're becoming the leading influencers of the anti-Zionist movement. However, another half of them is just full of darkness and shady aspects of their personalities and characteristics. Yeah, I know. What the fuck?
I think he got disconnected.
He is gone. There goes our recording. Are we still recording? The timer's still going, so we should be still on.
All right. Well, let's just keep going then. If anything, it's past practice. But it's funny with Trump supporters how they think that it's the same Trump that was kind of running off his own money and being a little bit more independent. Not as obvious that he was a Zionist.
It is the same Trump, but
not really, because his number one donor is Miriam Adelson. His number one donor is Miriam Adelson. Before, he wasn't so transparently Zionist. I don't think even at that point he had converted to being a Jew, because
he always was. He always was a Jared Kushner. But there was always that one tweet that he made in 2016 of Hillary Clinton with the meme with the Star of David saying the most corrupt politician ever. And then it got changed to a sheriff. They were oh, it's a sheriff star. But it was clearly the Star of David and pointing at Hillary Clinton. So
So what is that insinuating? What is that insinuating?
It's just like I don't know what the fuck is he doing.
Yeah, but then he converts. He converts in 2017.
Yeah, it's total mockery.
Like, okay, that's the whole thing. Like, that's the whole thing. It's just like, I was supposed to trust a guy who, you know, his mentor is Roy Cohn, who's a Jew mob lawyer, and he's a known. Trump went to what college? Fordham or?
He attended Fordham, yes, and he also attended Wharton Business School.
Wharton, yeah, which are
they're one of the best business schools.
Yeah,
and Fordham's Jesuit in New York, and he also attended the United States Military Academy.
Yeah, and so, and then his personal financial advisor was Larry Fink.
That he was bailed out multiple times, Rothschild.
Yeah, the Rothschild in the 90s. He known to have connections with Jeffrey Epstein. And then in regards to like acting, it's just like, it's funny. It's just like, I was watching the documentary of Vince McMahon and we go to the 90s, how, like Trump's in it. And just how like, if you look at U.S. politics now, it's exactly like almost like you in the 90s.
That's exactly at that. Yeah, because what politics is just an entire Roman spectacle. Because I mean, we're modeled off the Roman. We're just a continuation of the Holy Roman Empire, and that's all they were. Of just sports, bread, circuses, and theater. Even after that, through Shakespeare, which Sir Francis Bacon, he may have been the William Shakespeare, but just putting on all these plays and poems and riddles and.
Well, the interesting thing is the whole fact of just from a historical standpoint, and like I said, it's like infiltration and then rebranding. Because it goes from like, okay, the Vatican's in control, let's go for like Vatican being in control. And then in Europe, during the Inquisitions in Europe, the Protestant movement that then gets completely overtaken by the Jesuits, which is the military branch of the Vatican. And then, so the Protestant movement gets completely infiltrated and then it gets rebranded. It's like,
yeah, through science and other reformations.
Or like then the same thing with the Freemasons, how they got completely infiltrated by the Knights Templar, who just rebranded themselves as essentially being Masons, but really they're still Templar, like Knights Templar.
And they totally, they have a Jewish model too. I mean, and then again, like there's a lot of evidence that points out, Jewish Kabbalah was not their own creation, but a forgery of Egyptian alchemy.
Really?
And that's what Freemasonry is really branched off of, the Egyptians. And, it goes further back than that. So
yeah, because it's like the worship of God Isis is Isis the sun, and then Osiris is the moon.
The goddess of fertility. Isis would be the.
And then I was just learning about that, about how like it was talking about the Horus and the similarities between that and the story of Jesus, and how really it's all Christianity, how it's like based off of sun worship, because the sun is like the son of God, so God gives you the sun, you know, and then it talks about like the cycles of the sun.
Yeah, December 25th is when like the first day out of 4 days from the winter solstice, when the sun starts earthing itself again and expanding its light to the northern hemisphere. Unconquered sun. So like yesterday, for example, the Los Angeles Chargers lost their 274th road game, and it was 65 days from Christmas. And gematria, this Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers into words, unconquered sun equals 65. So the Los Angeles Chargers, they're a big sun worshipping team. They lost their 274th road game, and 274 goes with this unconquered sun because that was the year Sol Invictus was crowned as Roman Emperor, 274 AD.
Interesting.
And then I think it was, that was 46 years later, and 320 AD. It was 320 AD and then 325 AD. There was the Council of Nicaea, and then Christmas was actually made a holiday. Then that's when you get Scottish Rite of Freemasonry equals 325. Like all these secret societies, they have like, they all correlate to each other with date and the solstices and astrology. and the calendar.
Yeah, and now they're just all aware of something that's we're not completely aware to at all, but it's still happening. You just don't see it because you don't really know the actual reality of the mystery religions and what's actually being practiced behind the scenes.
Exactly. It's a true secret. I'm going to take this order of secrecy. It's more than just like life and death. Like they hold bound to it like so strongly and have just been able to succeed with it over centuries and millenniums.
Ryan, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
If you were forced to live in a society where it's either Christian nationalism or anarchy, full liberty, what would you pick?
Okay. Depends. Are we looking at society? Like at what point in society? Like, are we coming out of like
right now? Right now, it's either Christian nationalism and anarchy, full liberty.
Well, we would crumble if it was just anarchy. I mean, the thing is that I don't think all of us would crumble. Like the cities would crumble because no one would run the infrastructure because people would be like the smart people and the strong people would be like, all right, it's time to just go like take some land. And me and a bunch of other people are going to go take over this building or something along those lines, and you're just going to have people dissolve into like tribalism, which people out in the country where I am wouldn't be an issue because all of us would just be like, well, let's just keep existing the way we've been existing. You know, we got farms, we got market, we got all this stuff already set up. But that's because in an area that I live in, we can export our own goods. You know, we can export it to each other. And we can get along.
Yeah, but it wouldn't happen overnight. I'm just saying, if you're forced to live in a society where it's either Christian nationalism or anarchy, full liberty, what would you pick? It's toughy, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, at this point in society, I would have to choose the Christian one because it just wouldn't.
Fucking crazy. No way, dude.
No, literally just in the essence of sparing humans from themselves, because in the beginning, I think
but you're not okay. Hold on a second. Though. What would Christian nationalism look at as darkest?
What would it look like at its darkest? It'd be like feudal China.
No, it would be like fucking. Oh my god, it'd be like crazy, like Nazi, but Christian. Oh man, that'd just be crazy. Fuck that. No way, dude.
I just couldn't. I mean, the thing is that over time, the anarchist method would sort itself out. It's just that there'd be a lot of casualty involved.
Right.
That's only happened.
Go ahead.
In reality, that's only happened like very small communal compounds, the anarchist model. And I mean, that's kind of like a vision that Manly P. Hall has always been like proposing and talking about, that these, the society of unknown philosophers who are running these secret societies, that's what they've always been destined for, because these organizations are just modeled after Atlantis, or we've all just been like, but it's a competition rather than cooperation of these groups to build the next Atlantis. They're just like, we're destroying each other in the process of building this utopia. And this utopia, at one hand, it's behind the scenes, it could very well be like a total destruction of humanity and human race. And death,
I mean, for a utopia, it would have to be like utopic for the bottom up, you know? It sort of tries to reconcile the idea that everyone's equal and we're all effective in our roles. And it's just like, unfortunately, what's happening now, it's not a utopian dream that we're trying that's being created. It's more like we live on this island and we have
it kind of is. If you're an elite, they could be saying, oh yeah, this is a utopian dream. Well, this is just like the process of it, of like, okay, so eventually we gotta do this mass population event of mass depopulation event. Sorry. So they probably have the capacity to just do a nuclear war and then just go underground and then wait it out and then come back up. And maybe they have the utopia they want.
Well, there are those pieces of evidence that there are breakaway civilizations existing right now, such as like in the movie Elysium, of off-planet, off-the-grid, like actual, like large populations of groups with advanced technology that broke away many decades or even centuries ago. We're just able to flourish in the right environments. And of course, Christian nationalism, that's already like, that's in existence right now, not only just like in the US in certain areas, but like, you know, I mean, you could almost say Russia because they run a theology, like Christian theology on a theocracy. Their government and some of these other Eastern European countries are kind of like Belarus. I mean, they're a dictatorship, but they're pretty heavy on the church.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was all that stuff going on about I don't know. It's just the more I get out of just like society, the more I'm just like how much am I really affecting? I'm probably doing more good here in promoting communities of like self-sustaining communities rather than trying to like demystify the media, like the media circus. Because it's like, you know, you look at with the solar eclipse and then you realize like, you know, everyone was talking about like Jerusalem doing the red heifer sacrifice and all that kind of stuff. And then it's just like, did anything happen from that? Because I mean, you know, the you know, Zionist state, basically the way they described their Messiah, they basically described the Antichrist. And, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say whether or not I think that those gods are real or not. But, you know, when it comes to like the hurricane, you know, I'm here looking at it because I live in the area and I see all the people that got affected by it. And then I hear all the news about, you know, them coming after the lithium mines, them already having like a $90 billion deal set up for that. They're coming after quartz because quartz is necessary in the production of microchips. And we have the purest and most abundant amount of quartz in like all of the world. Same with the lithium. So like for me, it's like,
You said quartz, like QRT or QUARTZ quartz.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. So that's why this area got hit so hard, you know, and you know, probably why there was 2 hurricanes, right? So it's just like send in the hurricane that we really want to do some damage and then follow it up with another one so that everyone will talk about that one, you know, and that's just going to be Florida, which nobody's going to care about because Florida always gets hurricanes. And I've lived in both places, right? Florida's set up to deal with hurricanes and these mountains haven't seen one since this bad since like the 80s, you know? And
they can always generate like supercells once it hits. Yeah, it was very interesting, the timing of that. And like the week, like it was like I think it was the week before. I can't remember. It was the week before, a week after. Elon Musk was like, "Yeah, he was like, whoever invests in lithium is gonna make a killing."
Oh yeah, I mean, it's probably him too. And that's just the thing. It's like, so what do I do? I have to. The one thing I can do is I can actually be in the society. I actually am in the society that is going to be dealing with that because they needed to get people out of their homes so that way they could buy more land. Most of the houses that are getting purchased, you know, by the banks and by corporations, you know, like shell corporations, they're getting purchased and they're getting like nothing for their houses, right? I mean, they're getting like nothing for it because it's like, oh, well, your house is destroyed. Why would I pay for a house that doesn't matter? Even though they're just going to tear it down just for the land. Not to mention, it's like, well, at a certain point, it's us, the people, who are going to have to go out there and do the old school, you know, chain ourselves to a tree so that they don't do the mining. And it's just like people can't commit that long because they've created a society where they have families and they have to go to work and your entire reputation gets destroyed if you don't go to work and you start acting like this. They'll put something out in the media. They'll just ruin your character. And, you know, it's real catch-22, but it's just going to come down to the fact that where people are just going to have to get together with their guns and be like, yeah, no, you're not plowing this land. And I'm all for it. I'm all for like encouraging the Tennessee rednecks to, you know, get up in their huge trucks, like fucking at least make them good for something. Make a barricade with those motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's what they were doing. Some people were doing that in Virginia with the natural gas pipeline that was going through West Virginia and all through Southwest Virginia. And there's so many different residential properties that people were shading themselves up the trees in protest. Actually, the pipeline was almost completed, but it's been stopped. Like they just can't do it fully, even though it's destroyed so much already. Yeah, because there's just been so many problems with erosion, so much destruction. It's like God is winning in the end.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I would say that the best way to like impede these types of situations is using the system against them. So if they were able to, like, if people were smart enough or educated enough, or we got the right people involved, you could get people to look at certain types of indigenous plants or animals. And if those animals inhabit a certain area, you can actually basically make it to where breaking ground can't happen, because it would disturb an endangered species or an indigenous species. They have to hold that kind of stuff up. They have to take that seriously.
That's where the violations of this pipeline crossing many streams and creeks and rivers of endangered species. And they were able to get by, though. They were using all their lobbyist power, and it was because the state of Virginia was just sitting back, and the Democratic governors and just the politicians there who ran on campaigns of being pro-environmental friendly, they just completely contradicted themselves when it came to that, and just stood with the pipeline lobbyists.
Yeah, when it comes to this whole situation regarding like Trump, Kamala, I mean, it's just, it is they're sleeping in the same bed, so like, and that's the thing. It's just like, what's with all the charade? Is that just for the public? Like Donnie going to McDonald's and all this kind of stuff. Like, Kamala's just like, it just seems like she's intentionally fucking this whole thing up. That's what it's starting to look like.
The one real interesting thing that I had this one account on X named Kabamir is trying to point out, and is quoting like really good pieces, but it was like there was a statement by the Trump campaign saying that they were just going to sit back and watch Kamala malfunction, and they use this term malfunction, and then it's with Elon and Vivek and others, and even Tucker Carlson, how when they refer to them as puppets, and then they also say the word malfunctioning as if that they are, so like they're just not even, they're really below human is what they are, and they're just so controlled and perhaps even cloned, as crazy as that sounds, human cloning. I mean, we know it's with Biden, like he's just, to me, it seemed beyond dementia what he had, how he's even in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's starting to show with Trump, but it's a bit much, but it's crazy. I mean, it's just like even when I'm like reposting something on Instagram or something like that, it came to the weather manipulation stuff. When it comes to, whenever it comes to anything that's like a Democrat talking point, I'll post it, and then like 30 minutes later, I'll get a notification saying we flagged this for misinformation. And I'm like,
what?
Just like HARP stuff about HARP and all that kind of stuff.
What? Like what platform?
Graham.
Well,
so it's like, dude, it's just like,
actually wild. Like, honestly, there's a lot of bullshit too. You get censored there. Elon Musk bullshit. Like, you still get censored a lot. But the whole thing about, man, in the geopolitical sphere with Israel right now is fucking wild, because there's no way they can win. They're fucked, because the U.S. can't bring both sides to the negotiating table because they have no legitimacy. And they're...
Yeah, I know. They say they're wanting a ceasefire and are like warning against Israel. Then all of a sudden, oh, here's another $2.5 billion.
Yeah. They give it's a sell because for the election, because they're like, oh, we're going to sell all this to Israel. We'll do it the next 30 days if they don't settle this. So it's just like, they're not going to settle it. You're just buying time. How convenient that you say that 30 days and the election is in 30 days, And then, so like, yeah, it's a bullshit. But like, for example, when the U.S., before Iran stopped missiles at Israel, the U.S. was behind the scenes telling Iran not to retaliate and that they would help negotiate in Gaza, which is what Iran wanted. But then Israel goes and kills the main leader of Hezbollah. And then right after, Iran's like, fuck this, we can't take this seriously. So then they shot the missile or whatever, because they knew that, like,
181 missiles on it was a big 42 day when that happened.
Yeah. I was gonna say, did any troops get, because I remember hearing something about the Biden administration put troops out there in Lebanon.
No, there's troops in Israel now.
Yeah, so basically they can get caught in the crossfire to drag in.
That's true. Not Lebanon yet, though. But so what's going on is Hezbollah in North, which is like, North Israel, Southern Lebanon, as well as meeting Israel. Israel's failing. That's why they're not talking about their ground invasion at all. Because when they're doing good, they're very good at publishing and bragging about their successes. So that's why you don't hear anything about their ground invasion in Lebanon, because they're getting their asses whooped. And the problem is now is that they have 60,000 displaced people in northern Israel that can't go back because all the time Hezbollah just keeps shooting rockets at them. And so, like, it's destabilizing the country, which is causing the economy to fail there. And having defeated Hamas, even it doesn't matter if you kill all the leaders. It doesn't matter if you kill all the Hezbollah leaders. They're a resistance group. You kill leaders, more fill in. They know that they're martyrs. They're not going to stop until they get what they want. And the more you kill them, the more innocent people you kill, the more you pretty much just create recruitment for that group. So what can the U.S. do? They can't bring Iran to the table. All they can really do is supply Israel or eventually intervene, but they can't fix the situation. The only way you can fix the situation is to negotiate. And the only way you can negotiate is you can bring both sides to the table.
Does the U.S. actually want? Do they actually want to like have any type of resolve? I mean, aren't they kind of like interested in having, or the current administration, I guess, aren't they interested in having a war?
Okay, well, the current administration, they're more focused on Ukraine, starting that war, and then Trump. And then Trump's more of a. I mean, like, Kamala's still a Zionist, but she's more interested in Ukraine. They're more interested in that. And they're not going to win that either because
I mean, it's also because Ukraine goes along with the liberal agenda with the flags of LGBTQ and
what do you mean?
Just, in terms of like the social policy, just the liberal movement in America right now. So it's like the same people who supported COVID, supported Black Lives Matter, supporting Ukraine, supporting LGBTQ. And it's about like because they see Russia as the enemy. Russia's the bad guy.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point.
But they don't realize. I mean, a lot of those people, they hate Israel, but they'll still support Ukraine.
That's a good point. Pause for a second though, because you made a really good point. But the transition before you bring it up with Israel, that's what makes the whole Israel-Palestine thing so interesting. It puts a liberal in a weird situation because, like Matt was saying, is liberals were all supporting Ukraine because Ukraine in that situation supposedly was the underdog. You know. They're basically, they don't, even though that's not the actual situation. But that's why the whole Israel-Palestine is a mindfuck, because it's pretty obvious that the bully and the bad guy is fucking Israel. But wait a second, the liberal fucking media that was pushing to be in pro-Ukraine is also the Jew media, and now they're in a weird situation. It's pretty much like a lot of comedians were talking about. That was funny. Was that pretty much the Israeli current conflict? Because, I mean, it's been almost 10 years of the conflict that started October 7th last year. Pretty much kind of ended the Me Too movement or the whole like virtue signaling, because these celebrities who are supposed to be like virtue signaling are put in this weird situation because the Hollywood producers and directors are fucking Jews who are Zionists more than likely. But these motherfuckers are supposed to be virtue signalers. So like, what do I do? I can't virtue signal in favor of Palestine and Black Lives Matter or whatever. In the sense of like, okay, well, sorry, I fucked that up. But what I meant was the people who are like Black Lives Matter supporters all of a sudden are Palestine supporters.
Yeah, and now they're like,
I was going to say that Black Lives Matter was a Zionist Jew. You see the fuck thing here?
Yeah, now like there's a whole bunch of like Free Palestine graffiti in Atlanta, which I'm sure it's by the same people who were saying like putting Black Lives Matter graffiti 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing about a lot of the Free Palestine people is that most of them are stupid, stupid, naive kids that don't even know the whole history of it. They're just doing part of it.
Yeah, the George Soros NGOs.
And yeah, exactly. And then you get like Antifa sort of people who are like, oh, Free Palestine, but then they do some fucking crazy shit. And then that movement looks at, which once again it's like control opposition, infiltration. You infiltrate the movement, you get off. So it's like Black Lives Matter. I don't know if from the origin was fucked, but it definitely got infiltrated by Soros. and that funny, but it might not. What I'm saying is, like, it might not have been. And then there's good documentation of that sort of thing, because that really started with the whole Occupy Wall Street shit in the early 2000s, when they found out, like, that was like the one like good piece of journalism that Alex Jones did pretty well, was the whole, like, how he documented how there's ununiformed cops infiltrating the Occupy Wall Street movement to create riots so that the cops could shut it down.
And let's say like Tim Pool got his fame during that.
Yeah.
And now there's the Korea situation's escalating again, which kind of shows that the bigger picture is that this is really just a satanic. This is all about Satanism, just trying to, like, they're just desperate to start World War III, because the Koreas were like on the brink of declaring war with each other.
No, yeah, but that's weird though, because it's like they're doing it in a weird proxy way, because it started with North Korea sending troops to Ukraine to fight for the Russians, and now South Korea is like, well, fuck you, we're going to send troops to Ukraine to fight for you. What the fuck are you doing? Like,
and all these drones, they're flying over each other, and then Russia is like trying to back North Korea in that way.
And then the whole, you guys heard about like Cuba's power going completely out.
Yeah, on the day that was the 4-year anniversary of Event 201.
Yeah, so it's just like, what is, like, that's a good, test. Like, we tried on Cuba.
On the that goes back, though, the 201st day of this year was the CrowdStrike outage, and here in America and across the world. So then on the 4-year anniversary of the Event 201, we have the power outage in Cuba on the day leaving 74 days left in the year, and this Kabbalistic practice called gematria, energy equals 74. Yeah, it's just one big psyop after the other. Yeah, and it's interesting how a lot of these socialist communist havens, Cuba and Venezuela, happen to be like big breeding grounds of a lot of American politicians, and just there's a lot of documentation of the CIA and FBI training agents in Venezuela. And we know, like, Ted Cruz, he was born in Cuba, and because America had a big military presence down there thanks to the Bay of Pigs. So it's like everything is like almost 50-50 with each other. Like, you see on the surface a lot of communism of like the East and Russia and China's influence in that area, but then there's like CIA influence in that area. And then, if you see the total opposite of like Christian nationalism, you're going to have a lot of the other side, a lot of just atheist, anti-capitalist training going up. It's just the order out of chaos model.
Well, while we're getting to the end of this one, I think Caesar said you had some things you wanted to bring up, and I can blur out everybody's names. But yeah, you said something about like Donnie. Like the McDonald's thing was like a humiliation ritual. Did you already touch on that?
Yeah, it's supposed to be since Kamala claims she worked at McDonald's, but there's apparently like no proof that she did. So, but then the deeper part is supposed to be a humiliation ritual that because Trump is supposed to be a Jesuit agent. And he's just making a fool of the American society, but he's trying to make a point that he works harder than Kamala.
Yeah, tie in with the Red Shoe Club.
Yeah, that's what Ronald McDonald with his red shoes, and the Pope with his red shoes. Of course, Cinderella and her red shoes.
The red shoes.
There's a lot of art depiction.
I reposted a video about that, and it had all these photos of people in groups like in the.
Yeah, for people who don't know, the Red Shoe Club is what is it exactly? It's like a bunch of people in Hollywood that would sacrifice children, and then they would use the skin of the kids that they sacrificed to make the shoes. Is that it?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's pretty spooky, though.
Pretty good.
Looking the symbol of Lil Nas X 666 shoes.
Yeah, no, it's or like, hold on, let's see here. Red Shoe Club. Yeah, okay, so, all right, the red shoes worn by members of the Red Shoe Club are often made from human flesh and voted to sacrifice children. For example, Jesuit Pope U.S. the second papal shoes. The red shoes are worn during satanic ritual abuse ceremonies. So when the blood falls on the shoes, it blends in and doesn't expose them. The shoes are symbolic of adrenochrome cannibalism and blood dripping down the body of tortured children just before falling off their feet. And it's like, so yeah, it's just like it showed in the McDonald's, Ronald McDonald's wearing that. Very notably in the John Podesta pictures of the artwork that he kept. Because there's movies about it with Tom Hanks. There's a fucking Tom Hanks movie. It's called The Man with One Red Shoe.
Yeah, he's in a lot of stuff, isn't he?
Yeah,
Stuff
and then a lot of the British Royals elites wear red shoes, like fucking the Pope.
Was it Air Jordans that really kind of popularized red shoe wearing for society?
I don't know.
I might be wrong, but I don't know. When I think of red shoes, I think of Air Jordan.
In regards to that whole child sacrifice thing with everything that's going on with Diddy, interesting interview with Jaguar Wright, who was one of Jay-Z's old backup singers, she made a really, I don't know, it made me think a lot, and I kind of believe it, that the whole entertainment industry is just a front for sex trafficking.
Yeah, I overheard this table at my restaurant the other day. These bunch of dudes, they were talking about, they were mostly gay, but they seemed very awake, and I didn't get in their conversation too much, but they were talking about like Usher and his sex parties and how that's like just as bad as what Diddy's going through right now, and that's going to come out eventually.
Yeah, not only that, but it makes sense of how like back in the 1860s, so was also a prostitute.
Yeah,
like the term actress.
Yeah, a lot of them were.
And the term actress also was also prostitute.
And that's what Jaguar Wright was before she got famous. She was just a prostitute.
Yeah, so she understood which made her understand how to maneuver in a world that works the same way as pimping. And if you think about it, the whole Harvey Weinstein format, it's just they were all doing it before. It was there was no execs who would just have a bed in their office or whatever. It's just oh, you want the role? It's and it's just the same thing, which makes sense. So I meant the whole entertainment industry. It's not just acting. It's also the music industry, Hollywood, and it's pretty well established that it was the Italians and the Jews, aka the mob and the mafia, who used to run those before, in the 1930s and or whatever. And the only reason they got, at least not the only reason, but one of the big reasons they got power is because during Prohibition, they're essentially running the black market. And so then they allied in the early 1900s, the mafia, which is Italian, and the mob was Jewish, started working together. And then they just went into legal crime, like the intelligence agencies, the formation of the CIA and the FBI, who's obviously connected to the music industry. It's pretty well established that CIA and the music industry in Hollywood are completely intertwined.
And that was all while the FBI, it seemed like they were cleaning up gang life and street crime.
But no, because if you look at the tactics, it's just it's criminal.
Yeah, very just
the way they operate.
Just stop
Yeah, exactly. It's look at drug trafficking. Look at the war on drugs. Who's running all the drugs? CIA. Well, what do you think they learned it from? All the mobsters that pretty much started working for them.
I mean, look at, P. Diddy's father worked for Frank Lucas, who died at age 33.
Yeah, he was a snitch. He snitched on Frank Lucas, and then that movie is based off of and funny enough, Denzel Washington, the self-righteous prick, who acts like he didn't go to the Diddy parties, which he did. It was the guy who played Frank Lucas in the movie. Yeah, the movie American Gangster. And the most notable thing about that movie is it tells you a truth.
They just brought, that Netflix just brought that back and just started promoting it all of a sudden a couple weeks ago.
You know what the truth of that movie is how the U.S. government was bringing fucking heroin from the caskets of dead soldiers in Vietnam.
Yeah. It's so sad. Yeah, and it has to do with this whole 54 ritual involving Diddy. Why they wait so long if all this happened so long ago? I mean, a lot of it has to do with the fact that the person who's prosecuting Diddy now was the same one who prosecuted R. Kelly when he was 54 years old, and Diddy's 54 years old now. A lot of it had to do, with his relationship with Diddy, Jay-Z, and Clarence Avant, the Black Godfather, who died
Well,
54
yeah,
years.
but wait a second. And P. Diddy's his mentor though was Ike Davis.
Yeah, Clyde Davis. Yeah, his arrest, P. Diddy's arrest was 201 days until Clyde Davis's birthday, and it was 201 days from yeah, there was that other
Wait a second,
long
this is
Italian
actually
name.
54, Matt. And
What,
everyone's
is it a-
saying he's next.
Well, you said
Jay-Z's
Jay-Z.
54.
Yeah, that's what we're saying because like Clarence Avant, he died 54 years out of finding Sussex records, and a gematria Sussex records equals 54. And they call him the Black Godfather, and the Godfather has to do with the Italians. The address of the headquarters of the Jesuits is the House of the Jesu, and it has number 54 on it. And sun equals 54. It's all has to go to sun worship in the Illuminati. So yeah, it probably is in line. I mean, yeah, it could be, there's definitely going to be another big name rapper who's going to go down next soon. I mean, Drake got close with the whole Kendrick beef battle, but that didn't really do anything to him. But with actual criminal charges, could be Jay-Z. I mean, Lil Wayne could be in trouble, like eventually. I mean, his age, he's got that 38 in his age. I know the upcoming Super Bowl's in New Orleans, so there could be a good sacrifice for that. Super Bowl 59, Kendrick Lamar is going to be headlining.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll wrap it up right here.
Yeah, that's a good
See
one.
if we can get more specific into some more of it. Maybe we can make shorts out of these or something.
It's super easy to do that. All right, I'm gonna stop recording.
Oh yeah.
All right.